The house we built it together. I have sat in the counseling chair, listening to men saying, well, I built the house, I bought the car, I did this. And all of a sudden relegates the woman to a spectator because you're not taking any help from her. You are missing the great point of what the Lord said. I will make him a helper. And once we understand that the context of that word, then it means if I'm building a home, my wife may not be working. But do you know what ideas, what counsel she can give you to get the work done?
He's a whoa, turn around. Turning point, yeah. He's a turnaround. Welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran, welcoming you to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with Enterprise Group, MTN Ghana, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News Television, and the Springboard channel on YouTube, along with the Graphic Communications Group. So, you're welcome to the month of love. Love. Somebody said love is the feeling you feel when you feel a feeling you've never felt before. I wonder where they got that from. But that's the definition when we're in school. Now we know better than that. But this month, we want to curate some amazing conversations about the things we don't often talk about, but which are so real and which impact our lives on a daily basis. So we want to call this the Love Right Conversations or series. We'll start with cash. Cash. Let's talk about the cash part. And my guest for today, before I introduce the topic, is Richard Akita. He's a life performance coach. And Richard can't get it wrong. He knows the stuff, so he will help us to navigate the issue of the cash. Richard, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
You're laughing already.
Yes.
Why?
When you said love is the feeling that you feel, and once you described love, as you were saying, I was putting cash, and I was just trying to work out if we could describe cash in the same way.
Yeah. I remember years ago, a very famous Christian leader in this country came to preach in our church, and he says, love don't pay bills. That means actually you can love the person, but the bills still have to be paid. So there must be a monetary part of the conversation.
All the time.
Yes. And then last year in my church, the New Wine Temple, I was doing what they call Ask Pastor Day in October, where we celebrate October World Customer Service Week.
Right. Yes.
By packing the sermon for the day and me sitting on the stool and saying, ask me what you want. Wow. Accountability, ask me about offering, ask me about sermons, ask me about how we run the church, ask me why we do what we do, ask me from the scriptures. If I can answer, if I don't, I'll tell I don't know. There's nothing wrong with not knowing.
That's true. That's true.
So it's our most popular service. Packed auditorium for both services. Yeah, and we enjoy it. And we do a survey. What do you like about church? What don't you like? What can we improve?
Okay.
It always shoots the numbers up every year. Every year.
That's great.
And one of the questions people asked, I remember it was Odelia who asked that question. It says, can somebody who's very educated or alternatively very well-to-do financially marry somebody who is not at that level, either in education or cash? And I said, great question. I gave her what I thought was a good answer. But now that you are here, let's start from there. Let's start from how big is money in the issue of relationships, love, and marriage.
Right. Money. The beauty about money is that it gives us the opportunity to show our vulnerability, our level of sacrifice, commitment in testing the relationship. And once we understand that money will always test a relationship, then we must be prepared to have the answers. So, can somebody who is well off marry someone who isn't? The answer is yes, based on understanding. And whenever we find ourselves in a place where we feel we have arrived, if pride doesn't set in or our ego doesn't take over, then it means we're able to relate well with people.
Mm.
Money can also sometimes make you feel you're successful. And one of the things I'm coming to understand, success is never measured by money. It's important. Success is measured by impact and purpose. So whenever we learn to use money as a tool, it helps us to be able to live a life of giving and helping.
Would you clarify what you mean by a tool? Because it can also be used as a tool for oppression.
Certainly. A tool to make way and open doors for others. Because when we are favored and blessed to have more, we need to understand that it's not just for ourselves and our children. Because in the same way, somebody may not have what we have. And our role is to ensure that we allow the art of giving to open doors for other people. And Mother Teresa said this in one of the prayer conferences. She said, give, but give until it hurts. And when you listen to that statement, it's like, okay, why will it hurt? If I go down the route of even God's love for us and what he gave his very best. So when we're giving, we need to use money as a tool to give and open doors. That becomes one of the key human relationship tools that we can use. And when we do that, not to go ahead of myself, but when we do that, we open doors, not just for ourselves, but doors that are generational. And if I look at even David and his son Samson,
we'll come to that, and I see how this is going. You are bringing context to the purpose of money, but for the purpose of our listeners and viewers, let's segue back to in the context of marriage. How big is money? Because let me tell you what, as a pastor, I meet people for counseling from different demographics. Those who just got married 3 months ago who are asking, hey, you didn't tell us. Say, we told you. You say, oh, you didn't tell us. Say, we told you. At that time, all you're thinking about is the wedding day. Now you're thinking, you're seeing reality.
Yeah.
I mean, here was I trying to conduct a marriage. And the person says, for better, for better. And I'm trying to get them to say for better, for worse. And the person doesn't want to say it. Some people can never say for richer, for poorer. Because in their frame of mind, for richer, but not for the poorer. So how do you, within a context of marriage,
certainly,
is money small, medium, or a large issue? Because most of the people who come for counseling, by the time you get beyond the facade, you realize that it's a monetary issue.
Well, it's not small, medium, or large. It's gargantuan.
Let's talk. Why?
Money will provide what you need. From your food to the bills, everything else. Money becomes, I go back to the word tool, money becomes that which facilitates all the things you're looking for. However, the same money, if it is not used very well, then causes problems. So in a marriage where the couple, one is either a spender, one is a saver. And it's amazing how these two always end up being attracted to each other. If they don't have an agreement on how to move forward when it comes to money, then there will always be a misunderstanding. So when we accept that this particular area of our life needs attention, needs planning, needs discipline, and then finally it needs agreement. Once we can put these 4 things in place, we then start controlling how much effect money has on us.
Okay. Once you open the door, let me enter the door and ask. You mentioned that remarkably sometimes a spender ends up marrying a saver. Would you be of the opinion from your years of work, counseling, in marriages, etc., that unlike poles attract? Tell me.
A big yes.
Tell me why. Tell me how and why.
When I look at marriages and I see how people get attracted, sometimes it's what you don't have.
Okay.
Our weaknesses, we are attracted to somebody who has a strength in our area of weakness or development. So that becomes
The attraction.
the attraction. But amazingly, we do not actually know that this is how the person spends money until we say, I do.
Oh.
During courtship, remember, during courtship, love is sweet, love is at a peak, and perfect love covers all evil, which means that during that time, couples do not actually see the flaws. And if it's a typical African relationship where we're taught that the man is supposed to pay for everything, so they go out for dinner, the man pays. Everything the man is paying. The woman may not actually stop and ask, is he doing okay with money? Because we're showing an impression. You want to get the girl, so impress her. But the day you say, I do, under one roof, then she's going to understand, hold on, he's having to do 3 or 4 jobs to provide for this one thing for me. And that is when the veil is taken off. And that is part of the challenges that most couples face when it comes to money.
Let me go back to generational socialization and inheriting a generational perspective that may not be relevant in your context. How has observing our parents and the economic arrangements or financial arrangements in our parents and their marriages influenced couples today?
It has a direct impact on all of us.
Help us to understand.
For the young boy who sees his dad taking care of the home and providing everything, he grows up with that mindset that that's what he's got to do to prove he's successful, because we use our parents as our standard. So we're working towards that. For the young lady who sees dad providing for everything, the day she gets married, she will transfer that same expectation onto her husband. And these are some of the challenges that we get. So as we watch our parents, what we're supposed to do as parents, so watching our parents, but this is where the parenting comes in. Parents, we need to now be talking to our children so they can understand the financial dynamics amongst mom and dad. You tell me, which African home will actually sit down with your children and say, oh, mom earns more money than dad? It's never done. And these are some of the conversations in this dispensation where both parents are out there working, that the children need to understand, number one, the value of money. I want an X5. Okay, I was going to say a game, and I've gone to a car. Forgive.
So it's more like PS5 or something.
PS5, thank you. So I want a PS5. And then come Christmas, PS5 appears. How much is it? Where do you buy it from? If the child does not understand the value of money, they grow up thinking whatever they want, God will just drop it on their lap.
I'm laughing. One of my sons moved to his new home he had rented. He called and said, "Oh, Charlie, life is not fair." I said, "Why?" He said, "Charlie, electricity bill, water bill, refuse, this, that." And I was like, he didn't know it was paid there. So you're saying that we sometimes are guilty of not taking our children to the dynamic of the reality of life.
Yes.
But the example that you gave earlier on, let me ask you, Richard. So if in the traditional African society, patriarchal, grew up knowing that the male parent, the father, is responsible for the economics. And in those days, typically the mother was a housewife. Hardworking, but not in the context that we see today.
Right.
Fast forward, you made so much progress. And you gave an example I love, that in several homes, the woman is earning more than the man. Glory to God. But for some couples, that is unfortunately their biggest challenge. Help us to understand the challenge both from the man's side and from the woman's side. So we can talk about the real issues that young couples are fighting about. If not, we'll sketch them. So let's stay on that one.
Right.
A couple, beautiful marriage. The woman is earning more than the man. We give glory to God.
Right.
But there's a problem. First from the man's side and from the woman's side. What is the problem? Where did it start from and why are we here?
Again, comes back to parenting and our understanding, our upbringing as men. If you remember, we're told we're the head. So a lot of the things that we do, we're supposed to be the ones that provide. We're supposed to be the ones that protect. So when we see money as one of the tools that we need to use, then the first question is, God, you're not being fair. Because you've blessed my wife more than me. They're not seeing the two incomes as a household income.
Or a blessing from God.
Yeah. And I challenge couples and say, who provides? For the man to understand that provision is not from man, nor from the woman, but provision is from God. And if he so chooses to bless the woman more than you, then glory to God. This is where our conversations, our planning and goal setting and everything else comes to how do we utilize this money? And we take away the three-letter word that causes the most problem for us.
Will it be ego?
If we are able to move from ego to a place of gratitude, we will then appreciate what we're doing together. So, amazingly, for some women, it's actually a blessing. They see it as a blessing and they are willing to help. I know we're talking about cash, we're talking about love. But when we look at the fundamentals of a husband and a wife, the wife is the only other being that has been described as a helper. So if she is a helper, then Reverend, your wife should be helping you to achieve the very best in life.
For both of you.
Yes. And if you are the head, please pardon the phrase if you are the head, then what I say to the men is, what is in our head? The brain. What does the brain do? It serves the body. It tells us all the functions, everything that we're doing. I'm quite animated when I talk. The brain is helping me to do. As the head, my role is to understand is that running a home, I need to make sure that any part that needs lubricating is lubricated. So if I'm leading, or when I'm leading, I serve my spouse. And in serving her, we come to the beautiful harmony of marriage. So the misunderstanding of finance or cash can be overcome by both people saying, hey, this is what we have. What do we want to do? Then they move forward from there.
So the man who feels insecure should not feel insecure and not assume that the confidence of the spouse means that she's looking down on him, even when she has not done or said anything like that. And the woman also who is blessed to have more must not feel that because of that, her husband is incompetent or not up to it.
I love the way you put it. But there is this thing that also comes up in the woman, where sometimes when she feels unappreciated and undervalued, she will now look at her contribution to the home. And all of a sudden, she will forget that, hold on, I'm helping. And then start saying, I'm the one with the trousers. I'm the one calling the shots. I am the head because I'm bringing more money than you are.
But would that not be because the person who has less money is trying to call some shots that they don't have to call? Not that they should call it when they have money anyway, but I know. When you don't have money, you're also being chauvinistic. It
does. So,
forgive me, when you don't often get Richard like it, so when you get him, you must hit him from all angles. Let me ask you a question, Richard. Can we not address this traditional patriarchic, chauvinistic idea of marriage at the root? Because really, when it comes to power management, finance, sex, everything, it seems to appear everywhere and gives us problems.
Oh, yes.
Is that not where the problem begins? The fact that one perceives one as superior to the other, and therefore, in every conversation, slaps it right up front on it, and then reasonable conversation terminates based on that. Can you help us on that?
Let's go back to what the church can do. In our teaching, we also need to provide the practical mentoring. I love how Paul says widows should train the unmarried women so they can become good wives and mothers. But when we look at the men, where is that downflow where people who have been married for a long time can be honest and say to other men, hey, I made mistakes. So it starts from there. So from the church, the understanding. We have spent too many times in our sermons, in our teaching, lifting the man up as the head. And if the head hasn't got a clue of what to do, yes, in figure, he is the head, but he also needs help. So we need to understand that if I'm going to be the head, then the helper that I have, I must allow them to help me. We should also, as parents, be open to our children to let them also see some of the struggles. I'm not saying we should tell our children all the challenges we have. My wife and I, in our attempt to be good parents, in quote, because we're still work in progress, I made a lot of huge financial mistakes. And I had a conversation with my children. I said, look, you might see dad and you think I'm doing everything. But if it wasn't your mom, I don't think we would have come this far.
You felt comfortable letting your children know this?
Of course. Because, Reverend, the house we built it together. I have sat in the counseling chair, listening to men saying, well, I built the house. I bought the car. I did this. And all of a sudden relegates the woman to a spectator because you're not taking any help from her. You are missing the great point of what the Lord said. I will make him a helper. And once we understand that the context of that word, then it means if I'm building a home, my wife may not be working. But do you know what ideas, what counsel she can give you to get the work done?
Pause right there. When we come back from the break, I'm going to ask you about 3 different scenarios because interestingly, in some situations, both of them got to build it, and for some inexplicable reason, the building is registered in the name of the man only. That's a beginning point. And my friend, may his name be engraved in gold. I lost one of my best friends when I was a couple of decades ago. One day we're driving, I will never forget, on the Dokor Highway. He says, Albert, the problem with the average educated Ghanaian man is that they want a trophy wife that they can show off and say, Charlie, she's got the settings, and yet he still wants a traditional wife who call him Mure. So you can't get it. You can't. We come for the break. I'll be asking Richard, how do you find the balance between the trophy wife and the Mure? That's if the Mure matters so much to you. Let's talk about the things that people don't like talking about that really are staring at us right in the face about the dynamics of marriage in this very interesting world where several professional women close way after the man has closed. You say you don't like food that Ajachi do. Let's talk. This is Springboard, your virtual university. We're talking about love, right? The fine balance between love and cash. Love don't pay bills, but in the paying of the bills, who does the payment? And where do we find the fine balance between the head and the help? Please don't go away.
Going to the library. Going to the library.
Okay. I'm going for my graduation. go well.
Education changes stories, and being part of these stories is the real passion for us. MTN.
No stress. Submit your insurance claim online in just seconds on the Claims Express portal. Simply upload your national ID, cost estimates, pictures, and more to get started. Submit online, track progress, and get paid fast. Skip the paperwork and get back on the road with ease. Visit claimexpress.enterprisegroup.net.gh for easy claims and quick payouts with absolutely no stress.
Enterprise, your advantage.
This February on Springboard, your virtual university, we are bringing you a timely series called Love Right with host Pastor Albert Okran. On February 1st, we talk money and relationships because love alone does not pay bills.
We're in the month of love. For the 28 days in this month, don't let her go to the kitchen. Even if it's beans on toast.
I was going to come to that.
Richard Akita joins us to unpack money habits, financial honesty, and how couples can plan without pressure. On February 8th, we step into the online space, building and managing relationships in a virtual world. PG Sebastian and Aaron Ablaye will help us understand how to build real connections in a world of filters, fast replies, and blurred boundaries. Bishop Fred Conchimenson walks us through loss, recovery, and how to heal without losing yourself in the process. Then on February 22nd, we lighten the mood but keep it real. What is your love climate? Are you bringing sunshine into your relationships or constant storms? This episode is fun, eye-opening, and guaranteed to make you reflect. This February, before you say yes, before you walk away, before you stay silent, pause, think, and learn how to love right. Springboard, your virtual university. Your personal value will shoot up.
Welcome back to Springboard, your virtual university, and to this incredible conversation about love and cash as we mark our month of love. My guest, Richard Akita, is a life performance coach, a counselor, and a man passionate about families, about parenting, about fatherhood, about children, and about building families that represent God's original plan. And he's devoted his entire life to that, and I always feel honored to be around him because I feel a stronger sense of responsibility to comfort the family, because people like that are reminded that God had a reason why he created families. And so I love to be around Richard every time. And before we continue our conversation, let me thank our sponsors. This is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation in partnership with MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. Our media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News Television, and the Graphic Communications Group, as well as the Springboard channel on YouTube. Let me pay some props to Enterprise by bringing you the Enterprise Advantage tip. And one of my subjects I love, how much and how often can I contribute to my Enterprise personal pension account? It's about pensions, about money. When you've loved and lived and you are older, how much must you contribute and how often to your personal pension account? Enterprise says you can contribute 24/7 on any of the digital platforms or via their USSD short code. So you can use any of the digital platforms available or a USSD code for Enterprise personal pension, and that is *714 *333#. Once you dial that one, you can top up, you can pay, you can update your payments on your account at any time, 24/7. In the middle of the night, you wake up and say, I am growing old. You can pay more money. And the next day, pay again. As simple as that. Or download the Enterprise Advantage app and set your preferred contribution frequency. And that can be daily, monthly, quarterly, or annually. And anytime you get a bonus at work, you can do a bump up with a one-off payment. And that is the way to grow money so that when you grow old, You will not be sorry. This is brought to you by the Enterprise Group. The number to call 030-263-4708. Email info.trustees@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. Also, to remind you of our hotline, anytime you want to find out some of the exciting things young people are doing, especially across the country in the areas of agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET, just to be inspired by what somebody else is doing, or to find out about any broadcast that we may have done so that you may go back, watch it again, just either subscribe to the Springboard channel on YouTube, or the number to reach out to by phone or WhatsApp, 030-8255-775. Please bookmark that number so you can get in touch with us at any time. And then finally, I would like to just remind you about our business that we want to showcase for today, just to give us some props. And it's giftings and souvenirs. Giftings and souvenirs. If you are thinking of the lovely gift for a loved one this month, just go to Giftings and Souvenirs. Contact them on 055-8071-587. Buy gifts for your loved ones. If you love somebody, let that love reflect in your giving. For God so loved the world that he gave. If you want to give, it's Giftings and Souvenirs. Richard, love and cash.
Hey, love and cash.
Richard, let's start with a couple in love. So much in love that they get married, and one partner, in most instances, unfortunately, the woman does not check on the registration of documents for property, for the things they do together as a couple. One day, she finds out all that we've worked to achieve, either directly or indirectly, is in one party's name. I know there are legal sides of it, but generally, what would you recommend as the best practice in managing the family's wealth and also in procuring assets? What would be your recommendation?
I will encourage the woman to ask questions. Once you set a goal to build a house and you buy land, ask questions. Look for the documents. Don't wait until the property is built.
Must they look? Mustn't it be part of the conversation between the couple?
It should. Because whenever, traditionally, the way things are, we break trust all the time. And once you break trust, the woman then feels used and abused. So in the beginning, from the onset, once you decide what to do, my encouragement is follow up, ask the questions, and also, where is the land? Opportunities may come to the man. The man may have some slight amnesia if he decides to hide the property from his wife. A lot of these things is to do with ego. But if the couple are talking on a regular basis, they are then able to deal with these things.
So talk on a regular basis.
Yes.
2,
Keep asking questions.
ask questions. 3, see the land together.
Together.
There have been instances where one person says, oh, this is it. The other person asks, because unlike poles attract, one person is comms, marketing, gang-ho, extrovert. The other person is more quiet, more measured. And the person asks, have you checked the lands? Have you done the search before you pay the money? Oh, you did kill fire. But you end up realizing that person brings. So asking together
Works.
and discussing together brings out the strengths in both of you.
Yes.
So that would be a recommendation.
It is. I mean, let me share a quick example. I remember when we're buying our home in the UK, it was a rundown property. That's what our budget could afford. I was excited. In fact, I'd never done DIY before. That's when I understood that it's not do it yourself. It's actually destroy it yourself.
That's a new one.
And I took my wife with me for the second viewing. And she looked and I said, do you like it? She goes, Whenever my wife does the I have learned to pause and ask,
Why?
what do you mean? Help me understand. And he goes, there's a lot of work. And I said, oh, it can be done. But we can't afford it. Not the house, but the work that needs to be done. Then in my excitement, I said, I can do it. And she asked me 3 times, are you sure? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. And she said, okay, let's buy it. It took me 5 years to transform that place into a house. And it took her less than 3 months to turn it into a home.
What does it say?
Working together.
Okay.
But our relationship, if I use the Holy Spirit, learning to listen to the Holy Spirit helps us to avoid a lot of the errors of life. So even when I go back to the word helper, I'm not diminishing the power of a woman, because as a helper, your input is so important. And when you're not being listened to, the one who suffers is the one who's not listening. So we need to bring that dynamic and cherish that help, because the way one party will see something, their perspectives will be totally different. But it helps both of you to talk, agree, and move forward. So talking is good.
Talking is good.
Yes.
There's something else I want to talk about, because talking is good. And that is the fact that sometimes the traditional perception about how a marriage should function either learns from observation, socialization, orientation, counseling, depends on where you do your counseling, comes back to bite us big time. And one of them, as I mentioned before we went for the break, is that perception that in the ideal home, the man must earn, and the traditional perception is that the woman must cook, clean, make the house ready for the family, and is cast in stone in that way.
Yes.
So you find yourself married to a spouse who is successful professionally. That success is great, brings money, brings recognition, but at the same time, it brings also the person being sometimes at work. And I met a couple that, and we close together because we work together, but couples have a situation where the woman closes way after the man. If you are coming from a home where you say, by the way, me, I don't eat food that as I do, like I don't, every day the food must be fresh. And you traditionally believe that the woman must cook. The woman comes home an hour after you. Richard, how does such a couple get helped?
Number one, throw that rule book away.
Which part of the book?
All the things about us being, I come home and the wife must cook, all that traditional things. This is the time for us men to do something radical. And this radical idea is actually the most simplest. In my life, I get home before my wife and I would cook. And I go back to thank my mom, because from an early age, she taught me how to cook. So by the time my wife gets home, our children are eating. She comes, she eats. And it was never, I'm waiting for you to come and cook. Yes, I'm one of those men that when I first started, I prefer freshly cooked meals. But if she's at work, then why wait?
So you still like freshly cooked food, but you eat it yourself?
I do it myself.
Okay.
And the days she gets home before I do, she would cook. And that's how we've done it for the last 36 years.
And who's a better cook?
Oh, she is.
Okay. I met a friend of mine. I will not mention his name, but in his case, he said to me, you know what? Even my wife knows that I'm a better cook. So if we are both at home, I will insist on cooking. And you know how you can believe yourself. I meet somebody and say, this is senior. The person said to me, and his wife was there. She was just next to us. And he was telling me, I don't allow her to cook because I'm a better. And he runs a hospitality organization. So I know that he knows. He says, listen, why let her cook? I love cooking and I'm good. I'm like, whoa. Must couples keep their matter to themselves? Because this same thing, you can tell somebody in some setting that Richard Akita, I cook for my wife regularly. And when she comes home, she eats the food. And they say, why, have they sprayed something in your eyes?
They have.
What have they sprayed in your eyes?
Love.
Oh.
Love. Because you see, love covers. For what we do, Reverend, we're encouraging people. For many years, we're told, look for your weakness and develop the weakness. But now that ideology has changed. Look for your strength and build on the strength. There are areas in my wife's life that are my weakness. Why am I going to struggle? If she can do it, even if it's cash, and my wife is better managing finance than I am. First 15 years of our marriage, I made a mess. I made a horrible mess in our finances. And once I admitted that, okay, I don't do very well with finances, my wife took over. We're in such a far better place. Who's benefiting? Both of us. Is my ego hurt? No. Because I know that this is not an area of strength.
You know, I have a group of men that if they heard you say this, they'll say, you know what, you are different.
In what way?
Do you hear that sometimes?
Oh, yes, I do.
Are you different?
In what way? I don't see that I'm different. What I see is the charge I've been given
By
to love my wife as Christ loved the church. So the areas that she is struggling in, I step in. And it should be reciprocal. So she steps in as well. And it helps us to build a home, hopefully a balanced home, so the children see what we're doing. When they get into their marriages, they'll have their own challenges, but at least they have a foundation, looking at what mom and dad, how they navigated some of the challenges that are common. So if our friend who is a better cook is cooking, kudos, well done, go for it. Men out there, if you cook better than your wife, start. We're in the month of love. For the 28 days in this month, don't let her go to the kitchen. Even if it's beans on toast.
I was going to come to that. If your mom is not like Mrs. Akita, who helped Richard to learn how to cook early, or Dora Okran, who did her best with Albert, whose years were hard, but he learns more. If you were not introduced to that, you have to learn it DIY, but make sure it's not destroy it yourself.
Exactly.
All right.
So either you learn it, or what you do is ask somebody to cook for you. I mean, not always buy food from outside, because we're talking about cash. So if you want to show love, start with the low-hanging fruits. Once a week, cook something. And let the woman teach you how to cook her favorite meal. And if that's all you can do, well done.
In all these conversations, I've come to learn that there's not a one size fits all for marriage.
No.
And so when counselors use their personal experience and they don't throw in a caveat, you go home and you are not able to do what they do and you feel like you failed. How do you find the right balance to help the couple to discover themselves and do what works for them and enjoy doing it without feeling that they have to be another Richard Akita, which they can never be, because the dynamic between you and your wife is unique to yourselves and yourselves alone?
Yes.
What would you say about that?
Number one, for us as counselors, the encouragement is when we're using or disclosing information, it should be an example rather than a standard.
Prescription, okay.
For the couples, the counselor should know the couples, should encourage the conversation, should be able to probe to understand how their dynamics are working. And when you're giving them examples or giving them direction, you should use more examples that they can relate to. And when we do that, it helps them. If some of the couples are saying, try this. I was doing premarital counseling for a young couple, and I said, okay, fine. This was when you could buy something for 10 cedis, and I'll challenge them to have a 10 cedi date. And they say it's impossible. I said, you go and do it. And when they come back, they realize that the date was not how much money they spent, but how present they were and how much they could talk and how they could be creative. So 10 cedi date is in question. Just they were only allowed to spend 10 cedis. But they'll come back and say, that was the best date ever. Because they had to think beyond the money and go in deeper into themselves to understand, how can I make sure that my spouse or my partner is enjoying my company? So when we're talking to couples, we need to be listening to them then asking them to do more introspection, because when they find the answers themselves, they can then pursue it.
19 books, Richard Akita, on various self-help subjects, including relationships, including coaching, guiding, and managing people. And he's my guest for today as we talk about love and cash, trying to navigate the fine balance couples need to get to enable them to live fulfilled, enjoyable lives that fit or synchronize with God's intended purpose for marriage. Let me bring you a couple of interesting quotes, and they're from well-known people, and they have very different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Wilde says, "When I was young, I thought money was the most important thing in life. Now that I'm old, I know that it is." We love to just harvest these quotes and have fun listening to them. Kinky Friedman says, "Money can buy you a fine dog, but only love can make him wag his tail."
That's true.
Joseph Prince says, "Use money and love people. Don't use people and love money." Nishan Power says, "They say love is more important than money. Have you ever tried paying your bills with a hug?"
Never.
I just read them and we just make ourselves happy,
Of course.
with these quotes as we have these conversations, because they bring on the fact that money is needed, but at the same time, it can never replace the role that love plays.
Never.
Let's answer one of the questions that it would be unjust to. And I'm going to come back to the $10 date after this one. But let's answer the question about a fundamental beginning principle that many couples struggle with. Let me put it simply. In a marriage, joint account or separate accounts?
Oh, this wonderful question. My encouragement is, if you do your financial budget, then everything that takes care of the home, school fees, all of that, I encourage couples to have a joint account, and they feed money into that account to meet those needs. There's a need for financial independence, and couples must have their own single accounts and to be able to do what they would like to do with their money without having to first seek permission from the other party. So that, in its simplicity, yes, joint account is important. Now, in that same joint account, I even go a stage further. So I have a joint account that will feed into an emergency account, that will feed into the house building account, that will feed into the car buying account. So school fees, but it's one account. So investment is going from that account, and you can both track and see what is going on. So when you're going to buy the land,
so each one can sign.
Exactly. And thank you for even saying this. So for the ladies out there, when the man is going to buy a house or buy a land, be a signature on the account. And please put the limit at 50 cedis. So he can't sign, not unless he has to sign 1,000 checks. But if 50 cedis and above needs 2 signatories,
So it must be
then when he's buying land, he needs you to sign the check. Then you know. These are some of the safeguarding that we can put in place so that we do not abuse the funds that we have together. Sadly, on many occasions, when we die, and more often than not, the man tends to go first. When we fail to help our spouse to be independent financially, when we die, we put so much stress on them because now they have to now work out how to pay the bills. Why? If it's in a joint account, you can see what's going on.
Let me present you with a different model that one of my mentors, Professor Stephen Ade, shared. And I like listening to different models because there are different solutions that have the same intention, but a different expression. He says, we keep a joint account and she knows everything in the account and I know everything in the account. And so I never have money that she doesn't know. So when I'm surprising her, it's very difficult. So if I have to surprise her, it's a rule in our in our marriage. In our birthdays, we buy ourselves small, significant things. We can't buy a big thing because I can't surprise her. She knows where did we sign this amount from.
Yeah.
So I have to think about something that is not expensive but significant. Will that fit into your $10 budget?
10 CD. $10 is too high.
10 CD date concept. That it's not necessarily how much is spent, but how the quality thought, and the thought that goes into it.
And that I agree with Professor Ade on that one. So it helps us to be disciplined. Now, but this is just the one joint account. I will still encourage
that feeding out of that.
That feeding out of that, you can then have a separate account, because there are certain things you want to do, like the surprise, where sometimes you just want to be able to have that freedom to do that. That's one said. However, there are some couples who may not even go down the route of a joint account, but they do envelopes. So in the house, especially where I know we're trying to become cashless, but they have an envelope for topping up on ECG, and that envelope is in the bedroom. So the wife knows, okay, if it's ECG, she goes into that envelope, or the husband goes and takes money out of that. So there are ways and models, but ultimately it comes down to the couple. And find a solution that works for both of you. Agree on it and use it.
That's a critical one.
Yes.
And talking about solutions, the solution must not be one that one party assumes works. It must be what really works for both of them.
Yes.
I once met a couple that the man said, listen, everything she needs, I provide. And she smiled and said, how do I ask you for money for sanitary towels? The guy is standing down. In his world, you see, he doesn't even understand that it's not a very comfortable thing to ask for money for some things. So he assumes everything I'm asked, I provide. And then he gets a reality check that, look, it's not everything that you can be asked for. So there must be some space for the other party to also be able to, and it works both ways. Have space to work each other's, your needs. Final question, Richard. God has blessed the couple. And I intentionally have explored this issue of the woman being more successful financially than the man, because it's a reality that is many couples seem unprepared for. So today I've been intentional by pushing that a bit more than usual, just so the couples that are having that challenge can be helped, because eventually, if nobody does, they find themselves where they don't want to be, where they go their separate ways because they can't deal with it. So let's have an imaginary couple, and that will be my final question for you in a couple of minutes. A couple, God has blessed them. He chose to bless them with a woman who has worked hard and has prospered. The brother is at a certain level. The woman believes and marries the brother. But the brother must also lift himself up from where they started. The brother is not lifting himself up. It is real.
It is.
What do you say?
Oh, God help us. When a woman is successful, in this scenario, a couple, what does the brother want to achieve? Is his goal, does the goal align with his wife's goals? And this is where the conversation, everything comes back to the conversation. And if both of them can agree on our famous 2 years, short, medium, long-term goals, if they both can agree, if the brother maybe wants to go to school and learn to upgrade himself, they both agree, and that is done. The brother must learn to kill ego. Number one. Number two, be deaf to the voices of his parents and his friends. Because it's the same friends who will be telling you, it's not possible. You're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that. The two, when they become one, must focus so much on themselves and work on themselves. Allow God to lead them so they can achieve the goals they set. So number one, kill ego. Number two, be deaf to the noise that's outside. And the last one is to love your wife as Christ loves the church. Because in loving, we learn to sacrifice. So if Richard wants to rise up I've got to learn to say, Richard, no, but still be able to voice out to my wife that, hey, I'm struggling with this. They need professional help, either through counseling in the church or going to a professional counselor who, from the beginning, pre-marital counseling is important because this helps them to set the stage of what they've got. And if they can work on that, we don't stop at pre-marital. I'm saying to couples, don't wait until you get into trouble before you do post. But every so often, have accountability partners who do a check-in 6 months, a year, or so often, so that you are both looking at what you've agreed to do and you work towards that. So the brother, he's got a good opportunity. He should take full advantage of it.
Could one of the ways of taking advantage be that in the situation where for any reason you are transiting between jobs or you are on your way up the ladder, so you tend to be much more at home than your spouse? Is it fair to say that the brother can also learn to support much more with the household chores and the cooking?
Yes, yes, yes.
May you live long, said. Well, these are thoughts that we've shared, some of which you may agree with, some of which you may find a bit too radical for the way that you have perceived life, choices, marriage, relationships. But these are conversations that must be had. Richard, somebody said, when we have nice formal gatherings, we talk about, we do questions and answers and we ask very nice questions. But when we meet around the coffee tables of life, then we ask the real questions. Yes. I'm attempting to bring the real questions to the table so couples can be held, families can be held, and we can all learn and become better people. What will be your closing thoughts? Look into camera and speak to a couple that is trying to find their space and tell them something to close.
In this month of love, my encouragement to you is this: be a fountain that continues to flow and understand that your source only replenishes when you give. Love is the sweetest. Love is the best. But it's only the best when you learn to give it away. So in this month, start doing the chores. Men, start doing the chores. Start cooking for your wife. Ladies, in this month, start giving him more. Start affirming him more. And as we go through this month, create the memories that will carry you through the rest of the year. God bless you.
Richard, make me a promise. Let's do this again.
Sure.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about other collaborations. Richard Akita, author of 19 books, wears several hats, but at the heart of all the hats is a passion for building families that represent God's plan for humanity. And it reflects in everything that he commits his entire life to. And I can't say thank you enough for making time to join us today. So, my final quote is, when they say anonymous or unknown, it means that the thing is a bomb, but they won't credit it to anyone. It says, a good marriage is not about how much we make, but how much we manage together. That's right. True or false?
True. I agree.
Yeah. My name is Albert Okran, saying a big thank you on behalf of the Springboard Rotary Foundation and our partners, the Enterprise Group, MTN Ghana, the Ghana Growth Program, a collaboration between Mastercard Foundation and Springboard. To say thank you to our media partners, Joy 99.7 FM, Joy News Television, the Springboard channel on YouTube, and the Graphic Communications Group. So to my production team that works so hard behind the scenes to make this possible, Payal and the team, just to say a big thank you for all the hard work that you do. It is warmly appreciated as we build great families in this month of love. Once again, it's Albert saying, God bless you, and God bless you.
Turn around. Turning point. Yeah.